Wait a second. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's debate. My name is Richard, your MC for today's event. We are excited to hear two teams present their ideas and arguments today. For today's debate, we will be using the Asian parliamentary format in which each team has three speakers. The motion for today's debate is this House believes that social media has done more harm than good to the development of democracy. Speakers will have 7 minutes each. Point of information is only allowed between the first and sixth minute. So, without further ado, let's get started. I'll invite the Prime Minister from the government side, which is Nurusna, to start the case. You can start anytime.
Do you hear? Dah boleh start ke?
Dia masih tak?
Tak tahu.
Ya.
Please open your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're
Okay.
audible.
Okay. Dah ke? Okay. Thank you to the moderator and our beloved friends and opponent, also the judge. This house believes that social media has done more harm than good to the development of democracy. As the first speaker for the government side, um, huh? I will highlight. I will highlight why the social media give more harm than benefits to us. Okay. As we know, social media has a big impact on influence, viewers, and others. Social media platform like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok that allow users to create, share, and interact with content, and the news will spread very fast and uh, broadly. And of course, it might easily manipulate the people who easily to believe the news. Okay. Why I why I said that apa benda ni? Why I said that social media has done more harm than good to the development of democracy, because social media can easily spread of misinformation and fake news. Okay. Social media platform are often used by people and are often used to spread false information fastly. Okay, which can which is can mislead the public and undermine information informed decision making in democratic process. Okay. Of course, the social media people who has uh, bad intent they also can um also
Suppress news. Suppress
suppress political news, and they spread the fake news uh on the social media. Okay, suspect apa benda ni, aku tak tahu tu. Sabar. Furthermore, they can the fake news, the example of fake news, yeah, we hear nowadays is large cave under KL, and is of course can cause residents to feel scared and want to move from their own house, and of course this is a bad impact to the uh to us. Okay. Uh, Next. Okay. Social media also can manipulate and interference
Difference from
interfere from higher authority,
such
such
as
as government.
give
Okay.
example from China.
Um,
China.
for example, China, they suppress their
Political views
political views
that are that are opposed to
that are opposed to their
political views
political ideology, and they ban the social media uh,
from the servers.
from their own server. Okay. And of course, bad people from both foreign and domestic use social media to manipulate public opinion and interfere in election. For example, data from social media uh, has been misused to influence the voter behavior and undermining the fairness of democratic process. Okay. Itu je lah. Okay. I think that's all from me.
You still have 2 minutes. You want to add on anything?
Boleh ke? Aku end mana? I think I rasa. I think I will end my. I think I will end my session.
Explain terrorization. Yes. Sis dekat Johor memang cakap kan yang
Kau lah. Okay. I will end my ni. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, never mind. Good try. Okay. Okay. Now I would like to invite the leader of opposition, Lizva Raja, to deliver his speech.
Mic test, mic test. Can you all hear me?
Yes, you're audible. You can start anytime.
All right. So, good morning, everyone, and good morning to my fellow opponents as well. Okay. So today we stand to debate the motion. Social media has done more harm than good to the development of democracy. And as the leader of the opposition, I disagree. I oppose with this situation where where we believe that social media has actually done more good than harm to the development of democracy. Okay, first, let us first talk about the whole current situation of how social media is used today in today's world. So, as we know, social media is basically everywhere and is a very big part of our daily lives with with almost, I'm not sure, quite a lot of people using social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Okay. These platforms has really helped us in communication, enhancing information sharing, and also political engagement. Okay. Basically, governments, political leaders, and civil society organizations, they use social media to interact with the public, and they share information, and also they gain trust from the people through the use of social media. Um, in many in today's world, they also use social media to, to share information about political events, um, you know, for political activities, and they also provide voices to people who apa? Oh, to they open voices to everyone in the society. Okay, so here I would like to emphasize on what on our main ideas, our arguments, which are first, social media can be used to enhance citizen participation in political movements. Okay. Social media has really, uh, right now we live in a world where social media is one of the main sources of information for everyone. And then this really changed the way the way political organizations um, influence today's society. Okay. Uh, they also use social media to get to engage with the other with society, and there are many movements that really that that shows as examples of this use of social media to and engage with the society. For example, the movement named Black Lives Matter. Um, apa lah weh? Okay, never mind. Moving on. Moving on. Uh, Social media also really you know, social social media really helps promote transparency in the government. Like, okay, let's just talk a little bit on how social media is used now. Okay, we have heard many cases um, where corruption has been exposed through social media, and this really um, helps democracy in a way where we people in the society are aware of this type of problems. So this is really a very important thing, yeah, where where we people use social media to to be more aware with all these situations like corruption that's been happening in the government. Okay, and let me I how to rebut um okay, now let me try to address the criticism that has been made by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has stated that there will be misinformation through the usage of social media to spread information. Well, let's be honest here. Um, Misinformation happens through any form, any through alamak happens happens macam mana nak kata happens in through any platform lah, I would say, whereby there we are aware there are bias in newspapers. We are that try to still try to lead the way how information is being spread by having bias in newspapers and so on. So um, misinformation is common, and I feel like there are some kind of corrective measures that is being taken. For example, the use of moderators to to check and delete um unnecessary all these all these sources lah that may cause misunderstanding and so on. I think that is all lah from me. Thank you.
Thank you, leaders of opposition. Now I'd like to invite Deputy Prime Minister Tasnim Amani to deliver her speech. Tasnim? Tasnim? Can you hear me? Mic test.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So you can start anytime.
Okay. Sekejap. Kau nak Okay, as as Miss Fasi. Okay. Good morning. My name is Tasnim, and today I'm gonna be the second speaker for the government. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. As mentioned by Lisba, misinformation can happen through any platform. And you see, and you see, and Lisba said that it also can happen from newspaper, by newspaper, but social media spread news more quickly than newspaper. So a lot, so people can know, and don't buy people don't buy newspaper anymore. And also, people don't buy newspaper anymore in this era. So I I oppose with that because um because social media spread news more fast, and also nowadays people use social media more than the newspaper. So the misinformation is more um is more high in the social media compared to the newspaper.
Second
Okay.
point, placement and culture.
What is this one?
Placement and bullying. Placement bullying.
Other than that, uh, for my statement, for my statement, increasing in bullying in the social media
Toxicity.
and toxic in the
Environment.
environment.
Bila kerajaan buat polisi, orang kecam persoalan
When
kecam.
government make a new policy.
See, orang kecam, people would often criticize and politicize.
When the government make a new policy, the citizen will criticize it and
Often politicize.
often politicize it.
Uh,
Okay, as mentioned by Lisbeth, as mentioned by Lisbeth too, um, social media can give a voice to everyone as their good benefit, but also it also can representing it also can increase division. Okay, instead of bringing people together, social media can highlight extreme and conversational opinions. This can increase division between different groups and make it harder for people to find common group or have productive conversation.
this opposes democracy's principle.
This opposes democratic principle. So increasing division by having extreme opinions. So social media often highlight very strong and conversational views, which can make people more divided instead of bringing people together. It can make different groups of people more separated and less likely to agree to have meaningful discussion. Spreading false of information, such as quick spread of lies. So social media can quickly spread false of misleading information. When people see incorrect facts, it can confuse them and lead them to make decisions based on wrong information, which can harm the democratic process by distorting people's understanding of issues. So, for the conclusion, social media can make division between people worse and spread false information quickly. This makes it harder for people to have honest discussion and can lead to confusion about important issues affecting how well democracy works. And of course, corruption in social media. And of course, there are many corruptions in social media. As many society notice it. Okay. So this show that social media has done more harm than good to the development of democracy. That is why that, that is why
That's why we believe that social media does more harm. Okay, is it true? Something was positive.
That's all. So I think that's all from me as second speaker. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for um,
Okay, thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. Okay, now I'd like to invite the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Tasneem, boleh mute? Okay. Now I'd like to invite the Deputy Leader of Opposition, Mayam Maisara, to deliver her speech. Is Mayam here?
Yes, hi.
Okay, so you can open your camera and we can start.
Are you sure, Chat? Okay. Uh, oh, okay. So, okay.
Okay, I heard the background noise. Okay, maybe you can move to some place. Okay, never mind. Okay, give her 2 or 3 minutes. Let's see. Also, I want to somehow remind the speakers here is that the motion today is also related to development of democracy. So perhaps you guys can focus on that point more rather than social media. Of course, social media is important, but yes, at the same time, you should discuss development of democracy as well. Okay, so never mind. Let's see.
Okay, hi.
Okay,
Okay, so, um, sorry. Okay, so,
I think it's okay for you to close your camera lah if it's not convenient.
thank you.
Okay, okay. Yeah, you can start anytime.
Okay, um, okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna start the motion of social media. Uh, Sorry. Okay. I'm going to start my debate with motion that social media has done more harm than good to the development of democracy as an opponent. So, as Tasni mentioned just now, that social media give more good to the development of democracy than that social media give a lot of good to democracy development. So, I I strictly disagree with this opinion because I think that social media has a lot of harm to the development of democracy because one of the reason is um, social media give a lot of bad experience to the of especially the youth. Okay, as we know that 18 years old youth now can vote for the vote for the 18 years old youth right now can vote for the country leader. So we know that social media has a lot of influence from influencer, from artists on social media. So I think that they will give a bad influence to the youth, because I personally think that youth will vote for established party right now. So in my opinion, news, as Liswa said just now, newspaper give a lot of goods for youth. Maybe we know that youth never read newspaper anymore, but um, but newspaper will give uh, a lot of good uh, experience to them. So I think that as my partner said just now, newspaper will give a lot of good to uh, the democracy development, as it can influence people to as it can influence people to give to vote for the good leader for their country. Okay, other than that, Other than that, it can encouraging political participation among youth. Another critical point to consider the role of newspaper in the democratic process. His In past, younger generation have been less likely to participate in traditional forms. So this newspaper tactic has changed this dynamic by providing a platform for the young people. So through through good influence from the writer, I think that uh, their voice, young youth generation voice, will be heard in the democratic process, and by mobilizing the next generation of voters and leaders. So I think that newspaper plays a crucial role in sustaining and evolving democratic system. Okay, other than that, we know that social media, as the government said just now, social media will spread a lot of misinformation, and this is not a good flow of the platform itself to influence other people. Social media increasingly uh, social media implement a bad influence to people, and I think that we should focus more on something that confirm will give a good influence to the democracy development. So in conclusion, I think that newspaper is a good example. Is a good example for a tool for communication, and it is a powerful force for democratic engagement, global connectivity, and youth participation in democracy development. Okay,
So
so I agree that social media has done more harm than good uh, to to the youth and also for the democracy development. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Mayam,
Yes.
Maya opposition, right?
Yes.
If you're opposition, you should disagree with the motion. You should say that it will do more good than harm. Ha. Okay, never mind. Considering your condition now, later on we will point out at the end. Okay. So for the third speaker of opposition, please be attentive. Okay, your stance is to prove that social media has done more good than harm to the development of democracy. Okay. As for now, I would like to invite the government whip Anas Zohairi to deliver his speech. So we can start anytime.
Test mic 1 2 3. Richard, can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible. You can start anytime.
Alright. Thank you for friends from the opposing side and our judge moderator, Richard. So I would like to emphasize, and I would like to summarize just quite brief and a bit more specific regarding the motion today. So the motion today is our this house believes that social media has done more harm than good to the development of democracy. Um, what is the meaning of democracy? So development of democracy is to develop the principles of democracy in terms of um, hu- voting rights and human rights in general. Because to summarize that, uh, to give a more brief explanation, that voting is actually a human right. So um, when I say that social media cause more harm to this particular point or this particular issue, um, um, I'm sorry. For social media, like uh, like what the Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister have mentioned earlier, it was managed by a higher authority. So a higher authority to specify it. It is the government who controls the um, social media and how how democracy and political views uh, was can flow and can be enhanced in social media. Um, and this can create biasness. This is what I would like to emphasize. For example, like what the leader of the opposition just said just now, Liswa just said that um, in social media it provides transparency. I would like to say that this is not the case because in social media there are a lot of quite a lot of disputed infos that lack context, that touches personal infos or scandals of political contestants and in the election to provide a situation. For example, in social media there are lots of memes. Memes is like a page where they display a situation in a entertaining point of view to criticize any political parties, um, and misuse information, and often being politicized, and this can affect the election. Uh, this can affect the viewpoints of viewers, and this is not aligning with the concept of development of democracy in social media. Furthermore, um, f- furthermore, it there uh, data privacy is not yet really implemented in social media. So there are quite a lot of parties that can track and can can track
POI
the
please, POI please.
um, political affiliations of uh, affiliations of companies or certain people, and this can and it can restrict them from um, from being from being for addressing political issues. And I would like to say that it does not um, it is not accountable for them to do this, and it does not align with the principle of of democracy development in social media.
POI please, POI
Furthermore,
please.
I would like to explain a bit about how it could affect the elections, or for social media that could affect the election process. Um, for example, it can target certain individuals uh, to to spread more about the political parties that was being contested in uh, elections, and there is no there's no principle of accountability, and accountability is actually a major concept in democracy. And this is why I say that, again, social media done violates the principle of um, accountability in voting and in electoral elections and so on. To sorry So to make a conclusion, to conclude all of this, I would like to say that this is actually a call for policymakers to implement more policies that would make more positive improvements for online in social media to promote the development of democracy. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Government Whip. Last but not least, I would like to invite the opposition whip, which is Najwa Izzati, to deliver her speech.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you for the all the speakers. So, I would like to rebuild all the speech. So first, I would like um tribute for the first speaker of government. They said that um, social media spread misinformation and news quickly, but they not looking at the border side. So I think I think that um, social media it's right that social media spread information quickly, but not all the misinformation uh, were spread quickly. So yes, fake news exists on social media, but fake news isn't news, isn't new. So the new the news can be can be changed um, to the truth to make it true. So then, so then now let's talk about the positive thing of social media has done for democracy, which my team has already mentioned before. Um, First, social media gives everyone a chance to join political discussion. For example, like Liswa said just now, social media give chance for society to give their voice. Then next, um, so social media makes governments more transparent, give officials a way to communicate directly to society, and let citizens share their opinions and concern. So I think that is good to make the world more balanced. So um, I think the transparency can build trust between government and the society. And so, uh, for, for example, apa ni? Tiba-tiba. Itulah. So in conclusion, social media has its problem itself, but uh, I I agree. Social media has done more good than harm for democracy, and because it empower people, encourage open discussion for society, and helps hold leaders accountability. So that's all for me, I think. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back. How's your first debate? Do you guys have any comments? How do you feel about your own performance?
It was
Huh? Nervous? Anymore? Lizwa, how's your first debate?
Allow
Anas?
me to actually give my personal opinion,
Yes.
Richard. Um, for me, the time is quite short and very compacted to discuss, and that is quite challenging. It's actually a new experience, and it requires a lot of critical thinking, and it's a lot of spontaneous thinking and spontaneous speech to give a lot of ideas and to prepare for the worst.
That's true. Even for the real competition, you also have limited time. This limited time to discuss, to write your script, and to exchange your opinion with your teammates. Okay. So yep, try to adapt with it. Okay. Any more? How do you feel from the opposition side?
Honestly, right, Richard. Richard, can hear me?
Yes, can.
Okay. Honestly, very, mind opening of how opening, it shows me lah my English proficiency ni not that high, and I feel like alamak, aduh, you know. And then now I feel like alamak.
Okay.
So it's a good thing.
Okay, never mind. Because actually, when back then, I was also like you. Okay, we share the same experience, and I think this we will learn to improve step by step lah. So no worries. So I think I'll pass the floor to Ain. You can start first.
Um, Hi everyone. So I think I'm gonna give the general comments first. I hope you guys bear with me. First of all, I feel like Leave Spot is the only person that gave POI, and I really wish that all of you guys also gave POI so that the debate was more, so that you can engage a lot more. Because the problem with this debate is that some of you guys did not even engage, and some of you are not even like here, you know. It just kind of felt like the discussion just went a little bit off. So I really wish that you guys POI'd a lot more, even if it's just like the most basic questions, even if you wanted to them to like uh, just say like, hey, what do you mean by this phrase that you just said? Even that is enough for you to get points, actually, because POI gives you points in the real competition. So the next thing is I also want to comment on the motion. I think that you guys are 18, right? So this should actually be a really hot topic for you guys, especially you guys commented a lot, and Richard even said this, that you guys commented a lot on social media. But the part that is also just as important is development of democracy. And the first speaker of the government and also the opposition did not exactly say what democracy actually meant. So what I think democracy is voter behavior, which some of you guys have said, but you didn't exactly elaborate how social media affects voter behavior in a more deeper sense. Like, you know, if you see so much corruption on social media, what does that make you feel? It makes you feel hopeless. When you feel hopeless, you don't want to vote anymore because whatever, this country is oh, sorry, this country is bad anyway, so you don't really care, right? The next part is youth votes. Even, you know, if who spends most time on the internet? The youth. If all they see about politics is depressing things, what are they going to feel about their contribution to the country? They probably don't think it's important, for example. So those are things you can discuss about, especially on the democracy part, and it would have made the debate way more engaging if you guys had focused on democracy more than misinformation and things like that. Because even though that is important, you can easily say that, for example, on Twitter, you have what is it, uh, the thing where they basically tell you whether or not that news is real or not. That is a real thing on Twitter. What about just basic journalism? These are things like going on the right sites to check for news. Those are ways that you can combat misinformation. So it's just like things like that that opposition side and also government side could have used. And I feel like you guys didn't utilize real world examples. We see this, we see like news on Instagram reels, we see news on Twitter. These are things you guys already know, but I felt like you guys were focusing too much on the academic standpoint rather than what you guys see already in real life. And I think that was really kind of not that fun to watch, you know, because like you guys already know these things. It's just like you guys have to be reminded of it. So that is why the 30 minutes that you guys have are really important, because we don't want to touch on surface level stuff. You guys want to talk about the real things that actually have an impact, that even the judges can see like, oh, this is like something they know, you know, this is information that they're passionate about, they want to know, they're knowledgeable of. And you guys didn't touch on that. And but yeah, I feel like Anas, the third speaker, gave a really good example about accountability. And corruption part is also something that you guys mentioned a lot about. So I'm going to go on first speaker of the government side first, Husna. um, I feel like you, as the first speaker government, you really need to again address the democracy part a lot more. You gave a definition, but you can't only give like one liner and then say, okay, this is what we mean by it, because it's not very clear. The debate has to be clearer. So you have to really say democracy is this and this and this. Your main point, from what I got, is like social media leads to fear. You know, this information that they get leads to fear. But you haven't exactly given the proper kind of example. I think also you guys really lack real life examples. You guys could have said, um, like the people going missing, you know, that is something that you guys can use as a real example right now so that your stance, your debate seems a lot more important. Um, and for example, you guys also talked about corruption. What is corruption happening in Malaysia? You can't just say, like, oh, the corruption happening in our current government. Say it. You can say it, by the way. You can name drop people like Donald Trump, Najib, all of these people. You can just say their names. That is allowed, and that actually makes your stance a lot clearer because you're saying that this happens in real life so that your stance and what you're trying to prove is actually real. So the next part is second speaker of government, Tasnim. Um, I feel like again you mentioned a lot of things, but I also feel like you guys aren't just you guys are a bit distracted, you know, with your stance. I feel like you guys need to trust what you are trying to say. Really, just put in that trust. If you know that social media leads to people having fear. It leads to people not having any faith in the government. It leads to people believing in conspiracy theories. All of these, you can say it. And it's just like things that just come off at the top of your head. You don't have to use really bombastic vocabulary, genuinely. Just say like simple words and people will understand. And I feel like you guys focus too much on, oh, is my English going to be good? It's like, no, you don't have to care about that. It's your explanations have to be good. That's it, you know? So the third speaker, I like that you pointed out the third speaker of government, Anas. You pointed out the importance, which I do like. You said that voting in democracy is a human right. So that is why your stance is important. I like that, but you needed to elaborate it more. And you also did a lot of rebuttals, which I do like. Also, you don't have to explain things like memes. I feel like a lot of people already know what that is, so you don't have to explain those things. Especially in like a real competition, you don't have to. And I also do like that you gave cause and effect, like what will happen when social media leads to the downfall of democracy. What happens when misinformation spreads? All of these things you gave and you gave the effect of, and I think that that was very important. But it should have been done from the first speaker from the get go. Next, okay, opposition first speaker. You gave POI the spot, very good. You also had a platform, but it was kind of sort of unclear whether or not you like you just didn't give your point in a more elaborated way. Like you just didn't explain enough. Like for example, you mentioned that it enhances participation. How does it do that? You also mentioned Black Lives Matter, which I was excited when I heard that. But you did not mention why Black Lives Matter changed anything from the social media standpoint. You didn't explain anything, which again kind of made it kind of just like a one-liner that I had to just pretend like that didn't come up at all because you didn't explain it. So that's actually one of the bad parts about giving one-liners or saying one sentence and then never explaining it. The next thing is you said that it promotes transparency, which I do agree. And you mentioned about corruption and how social media help to expose that. But again, you can also add what real world examples of that had happened, you know? And it doesn't also have to only be about Malaysia. You can also mention any sort of corruption in the real world, like all over the world, like America, for example, or the UK. Um, all of these things you can add in your script to make it longer. Okay, this is really long. Okay, the next thing is second speaker, Maria. Um, First thing is you are on the wrong side. You know, this house would, wait, sorry, this house believes that social media has done more harm than good. So you, as the opposition, you have to say it does more good than harm because you oppose the motion. But you did the opposite, which was you agreed with the government side, which is not what you want to do at all. So it kind of made all of your points mm, not like it doesn't work for your side, basically. And also, I would like to say again, you have to understand the motion. It's not about newspaper versus social media. It's not about that. It's about social media and what it has done to democracy. You guys have to remember that. You really have to go make sure that the debate doesn't escalate. Thankfully, what Mariam said did not, um, the third speaker of the government did not escalate to that, which is like newspaper is better than social media. He did keep to the motion, so that's okay. But sometimes a debate can get really messy when one person says the wrong thing and it just swings the entire way. Like the motion just doesn't even, you're not even talking about the motion anymore. So that is something that is bad. But it's good that um, that did not happen. So the third speaker, I feel like you could have said more, but overall, it was a good try. So I'm sorry for yapping so much. Okay, Richard, you can take the floor. That's all the things I have to say.
Thank you, Ain. So basically, from my side, actually Ain already touched a lot things on the content, and basically that's also the same thing what I have jotted on my draft. So actually, what I think is that you guys need to have a concept of thinking, which is thinking critically, thinking into another dimension, into deeper aspects. Which what I meant is okay. I like the point given out by the opposition, which is citizen participation, so that we can urge citizens to involve and they can be exposed to it. But what's next? What is the next? What is the next step? Okay, what are you trying to prove? What are you trying to engage? What are you trying to present? Is it only citizen participation? What is the final objective? What is the final outcome? The reason why we need more citizen participation is because if once they are being once they feel that they are involved, they know that this will be related to their own advantage or benefits. If they know that, they will be more concerned and they will make the wise decision towards which party can bring more benefits towards them. That's why it will be a positive impact towards the development of democracy. So that's how the flow goes. It's not only like a one liner, you just say that, oh, because it increases citizen participation and pop, that's all. It's actually not enough. It's not sufficient for you to prove that you stand on that point. The main reason why we will credit you the point is when you show that it relates to your final objective, to your stance. The reason why you say that social media has more good towards the development of democracy is because it has a wider coverage, it has a wider participation, and the final objective is that you want to make a better country, you want to prevent corruptions, you want to improve the transparency, and so on. So what you can see is that your arguments could also serve as the final objective. So this is what we say when you are trying to make your speech. You need to plan the structure. You need to follow what is the status quo now. Why would I say that social media is better in the development of democracy? This is because the status quo today is this is the digital era. The digital era is undeniable that everyone will use their device. So in order to reach more citizens, we need to use the power of social media. So that is a status quo, and you guys are utilizing the status quo by spreading the positive information through social media in order to make a positive development towards the democracy. And on the government side, they can also say yes, that's because the status quo is social media is going wild now. It will cause misinformation to be multiplied 10 times. It will become worse when a very extreme language and extreme opinion is being presented. It will contribute in conflicts between two parties or even cause a war like what happened in history before. Actually, what I want to say is that when you guys are trying to discuss, I believe that you guys have a discussion before this. Try to allocate, okay? Try to have one person as the leader. That is what we call a hook. You need to allocate which point should comes first. Like, okay, if I want to say that the social media brings more harm in development of democracy, what is the most harm? Of course, the first thing is the spread of misinformation. Okay, this is because of this misinformation in the in this platform of social media, it will become more worse. And why? You need to give vivid analysis, such as in Instagram. We have news. We have a lot of news like the of course we're not trying to mention the political parties, but we can just say like, okay, some political parties, they intend to spread their own stances in the social media. But what we can see in the comment area, we can see a lot of extreme followers. They are actually quite conservative, and they only support solely on what they believe. And what is worse is they will have a misconception. They will have, produce a biased opinion and view online, which will be more worse because more people will be influenced by the certain comments given, and at last it will be a disaster, something like that. So maybe this can be your first point. This can be your stance. Because of this misinformation, it will ruin everything. Although how much the participation you got, just because of this misinformation, all of your participation will become zero. So this is the thing. This is the burden that you should put on the opposition side. Okay, so I think not much I would say, because actually, to be honest, the debate today, the engagement is not much. We didn't see much POI. Although we see rebuttals, but yep, the rebuttals are only rebuttals. We did not see that you are rebutting the rebuttals. But never mind. I'm sure that this is the very first chance, and I hope that you guys learned something. And I, you got anything to add on?
Nope, all done.
Or that, okay? So don't be fed up, because I can see that most speakers here are like lack of confidence, and but it's not a big deal because back then we are also the same. So I think this is what we call, you are trying to improve your own proficiency in language, your how you develop your thoughts, and how you're going to express it in fluently lah. Okay, so I think that's all for today. Do you guys have any questions before we end the session?
I would like. Right, sorry. I would like to ask, how much reading you actually need for you to like master. Not the word is not master, but to actually to be more eloquent in debate with the ideas, and how do you guys specifically allocate time, like time management, and can you specify it more, Richard and Kain? Thank you.
I think I'll go first. Okay, regarding the reading habit, actually, for me myself, I will not say that I am a person that loves to read, but my tactic is I will go through news, the current issues online, because sometimes the current issue may be related to the motion that you got, and perhaps it could be like a catalyst for you to think. It could be like, oh, because of this reality that happens in the real life, what could be more worse? What could be more worse, and what solution should be made? Something like that. And for the allocation of time, basically for each speakers, they have different allocation of time. Okay, for the first speaker, you need to set up the case. For the prime minister, maybe you can use up 4 minutes to set up your case. You need to define the motion. So today, which should we what should we focus? Social media or development of democracy? And later on, you need to state that the status quo. So what is happening now is that we can see many political parties are actually using social media as a platform to promote their political movement and so on. But actually, it's not good in some way. Then later on, you need to say that uh, your objective. Maybe if this is a policy motion, you need to say out your mechanism, and so on. And after that, the 4 minutes, you can have 3 minutes to generate your argument. Same as the second speaker. The second speaker, before you want to say out your arguments, first of all, you need to do some rebuttals of the opposition side. 2 minutes, and the rest of time you can use it to elaborate your arguments. And for the third speaker, okay, you need to also allocate your time. Maybe the rebuttal, maybe the first 2 minutes is for rebuttals, and maybe the rest of the time you can use it to lay out the clash points. You can do weighting, you can do comparison, and so on. Okay, I need to add on something.
So since Richard mentioned about time in the competition itself, I will say like during the practice, I mean not the practice, the deliberation, like when you're writing up the script, the 30 minutes that you have, how I did it is the first speaker will usually need the most help because you're laying out the foundation of your arguments. So I feel like the third speaker and the second speaker, I mean the first speaker, have to help each other out because the third speaker, you aren't doing much in the discussion time because you obviously a lot of it comes from the opponent. Your arguments come from the opponent. Your arguments come from what happens during the debate, not what happens before. So you don't actually need to spend a lot of time. What third speaker has to do is understand the motion. So usually the brunt of understanding emotion, I feel like falls on the first speaker and the third speaker. So you guys just basically need to like focus more on the first speaker because if the first speaker's stance is strong, like their script is great, then the second speaker and the third speaker don't have to worry that much about the debate itself because you already have a strong stance. So, yeah, that's the first speaker. Usually, what you will have to do is think of definition, think of platform or mechanism. Like, what will happen when this motion succeeds? Like, what will happen when your side prevails? Like, the world that you guys live in. I think the best part about the first speaker is that you can make comparison. Like, what happens in your world? What happens in the opponent's world? That makes your stance a lot clearer because you know like the judge will see, okay, this is what they mean by supporting this motion, this is what they mean by opposing this motion. It makes it way clearer. And then for the second speaker, actually the second speaker also plays a huge role as well. You have to have 2 points, right? So the third speaker, after helping the first, you have to help the second as well because they hold two of the points, which is just as important as holding everything, like the foundation of your arguments, right? As the first speaker. So the third speaker really has to be helping. And also, like your fourth, what is it? The fourth teammate also has to help a lot lah. So yeah, it's mostly just like teamwork is very important during the discussion time because when you're speaking, you don't want your teammate to be like behind you and then saying, you know, this is what you should say. You should already know that by like the 30 minutes that you have before you debate because that makes it seem like, oh, you already know what you're talking about. So so how do you want to know what you're talking about? The thing about reading is that I feel like if you just kind of read the news or you see enough on the internet, even or you hear enough about what people are talking about, you actually can um, take whatever happens in your life and try to use it into debate itself. Like for example, like education, you can use that in education motions. You can also simultaneously use that for um, political motions because education and our political ministry is kind of the same, right? They are interconnected. What happens from the government falls under education. It also falls under environment. It also falls under philosophy, like what the society actually thinks. These are things that you may not think like, oh, me reading the news about this one article won't do much. Like you can't exactly add that to what happens in a debate, but actually can. You can also like, I wouldn't recommend this, but you can take like anecdotes, like from what happens in your own life, like your own life experiences, especially for like education. If you want to talk about meritocracy, or people entering universities, there is clear discrimination between Chinese, or like the minorities versus um, the Malays. Like these are things that you can use, um, that happens in your life around you, but it's just like you just have to kind of open your eyes more, I guess, which is like a really arrogant way of saying it, but like genuinely, you can use anything that happens in your life as like something to argue about in a debate. Genuinely, most of the times the motions that you get, especially in inter-SSC, are not that hard. Like most of it you can explain by your own understanding. So you don't have to worry too much about like whether or not you have enough information. I'm sure you already do. It's just like the matter of seeking it and finding it, um, instead of needing to add more. So yeah.
Does it answer your question, Anas?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Richard and Kai, for the explanation.
Okay. So, is there any more questions before we end the session? I need to stay back. Later we have postmortem. Okay, I think if that's all, so I would like to say thank you to all of the speakers today. So okay, don't treat this as a failure, but it's only the very first start of your guys and your debate journey. Okay, so looking forward to see you guys next week on next session. So bye guys, see you.